Hey, how's it going? How is everybody today? Happy holidays, etc. All right. Oh, come on, camera. Go. Oh, well, yeah, camera does not want to cooperate today. Yeah, we're just gonna live with that. I think the cable is really short. There we go. All right. Yeah, last stream for 2024. This is our first stream in like what, like almost 2 weeks, something like that. I was out of town, so I did a little work, not like a ton. So we got a lot. We got a lot we can work on. Had some good ideas. We were struggling with how to deal with these texture buttons. Last time we were making these texture buttons so that they do the full like interaction. Like in the upper right, you can see. And the problem is we were setting these up manually, which is not something I want to do. I want a way to set them up procedurally based on the sprite sheet, based on like the sprite atlas that we're using. So that's kind of complicated because the concept that we have for like how our sprites work is like, you know, you might see things like this, these blocks. But this is the magic of the auto tiler. We don't actually have these whole blocks anywhere. What we have, so instead of blocks like this wall block or this floor block, we have the split faces. We have like the individual faces laid out. And we assemble the objects. So I need basically to use the auto tiler to build these combinations and then put them in this palette, which is interesting, and it's going to be a bit complicated on how to do that. I don't think we're going to exactly do it today because I need to do some prep work in laying out our tile sets. But I think it's going to be interesting. Someone showed me a really nice trick, like here. We can have this thing, this blue. You see this blue outline, maybe? Maybe it doesn't read very well. But if we Shift C, we get this thing, this slice tool. And so now you should be able to see it better. So with this slice tool, I've demarcated like a quarter of the screen, right? And so for this, it's really hard to tell because it's gray on gray, but there's like our floor and wall top faces here. There's the side faces that are just the right side because the left side's just a perfect mirror of these, which I may or may not be able to do considering what we're going to try here. And then we've got the floor sides. So this is like a sprite sheet that at the moment it just defines all the possible textures for the basic cubes. These basic cubes here, this wall cube. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, there we go. It's a wall cube and this floor cube, So we can use these slices to demarcate areas. So we can say like, here's all the slices. Here's a slice for all the top faces. We can even attach properties to it. So like we can give it a name, we can associate it with a color for whatever reason, and we can just plug in an arbitrary string of data. So here I wrote like 4 by 32, which is like, that's actually the number of things that we can fit in here, but what we should actually put is like 32 by 8, which is the size of the size of one thing in here. So we can slice up, and then what's really cool is we can take this slice information and we can actually export it into a JSON file. So we can embed organization information into these sprite atlases. So we could and that kind of gives me ideas about how we could inform the auto tiler about how to generate these texture buttons, which are probably not going to be texture buttons because it's all embedded. If you do it as a texture button, it will probably be a button which has, like, you know, texture rects associated with it for the different faces. So we just build the cube objects based on the sprite stuff. And that lets us do other cool stuff too. Like we can do some efficient things. Like here, like I don't want a button for each of these because this is the same block, you know, 4 ways, like 4 rotations of the same block. So instead of doing that, you know, we can just have one of these, and if you rotate around the tool, it'll swap to the correct one, stuff like that. It thinks I made a modification to this. I don't think so, so let's not. But anyway, that's a direction we're going to go with this. I don't really need to do it right now, because for our purposes, just having these 3 buttons is sufficient for at least getting the basic functionality back. Oh, our block parser failed. You can't read block. Okay, that's good to know. When are we trying to do that? Like, it's showing me where this is failing. So where do we do that? We do that in the edit system. It's probably where this is happening. We feed all of our commands from Godot in, here's that JSON file that I was mentioning earlier. We feed all of those commands in here, and it comes in, they come in just as arrays of strings, just to make them maximally compatible and simple from Godot's standpoint, and then we basically parse them on the C# side in the systems. So we have a block. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, tired. We have a block command. So I need to add block to this list because I think we're trying to parse. Yeah, we're trying to do command.parse command.next. We could just do enum.parse command.arg command.next. That's probably better. I don't know why I added a parse command to just this. I mean, it's shorter, but under the hood, it's actually just using a try parse. And not only is it using a try parse, but it's like throwing an error if the parse doesn't work. So I feel like I don't know why I'm doing it that way. We are doing some cool things. Okay, we can actually do that here, can't we? Yeah, we can. Ignore case. I want to ignore case. Like, true. Because, like, I don't want to mix up commands just because something's been capitalized somewhere. Another thing I worked on that was really stupid and kind of a waste of time, but I did it, was I made my own integral vector class, or structs. I really didn't have a good reason to do it, but I did it because I wanted to be able to extend it and kind of control how the implementation works. And I did the whole thing. I did, you know, documentation comments and everything. It's mostly based on the Godot implementation, but it's a little different, and it's easier for me to modify and extend. But it's kind of fun. I needed something kind of mindless to do while I was like busy eating food over the Christmas holidays. All right, so here we want case command.arg.block, which we don't have. So we want to add that to our list of command arguments. So these are all the recognized command arguments here. And so what do we do if it's block? Oh, I guess if it's block, then we go further into this stuff. This is something I was kind of trying to avoid, which is like switches that lead into switches. Happy holidays. Hey, Leandro. How's it going? I was trying to avoid switches that lead into switches, but I think maybe I don't really care. And in fact, for now, we can actually just say if command.parse. No, we do need the switch. Because we have a bunch of other cases that we need to do. So we're moving this one down. Anyway, how are you doing? How are your holidays? Happy New Year, etc. Oops. So we're going to say switch command.parse command.next. Put these in here. The only way I thought to get around this would be if we just had a stupid number of systems. But then we're just kind of hiding the fact that we have all these different switch cases. So for now, I'm just going to shove everything that's related to editing in this one edit system. And if we feel like it's getting too big, we'll split it up. Once we have more discrete, like once we have more than one edit mode. Right now, our only edit mode is the block editor. But if we come up with like a scenario editor or something like that, or like a if we come up with different editor modes, then we'll maybe shove this down to like a block editor system or something, or block system. Right now, we're just gonna accept the awkwardness. Yeah. You're doing good. Looking forward to New Year. How's the project going? It's okay. I haven't really touched it very much in the last 2 weeks. I was out of town. I was visiting family, so I took a much needed break. But I'm excited to work on it into the new year. So what are our other arguments that we need to support right now? At least in theory. Save, load, undo, redo. Okay. Save. Save, load. Undo and redo. We don't need to implement these at the moment. And in fact, it's gonna be annoyed at us that we've defined these that don't do anything. But it's kind of awkward. We actually have a system here that does the first level input processor that actually considers game state. So this is like the top level input system that looks at all input and it considers game state. So we'll say game current state. If we're in the edit game state, because we're going to use like a state stack to track this stuff, then we'll go through a different switch process. I guess. We'll see how it works. We might end up putting the game state check inside here. But I'd rather, like, it doesn't really matter which way we do it. But right now, it's like all of these cases fall through into the edits. And in fact, we don't support some of these. So like this will be block. So we also have block and hover that we need to consider. And eraser. I kind of want to add the top level thing again, like tool. Like tool, eraser, toggle, tool, block, select. Tool or edit. Some of them aren't strictly in the edit context, like save, load, undo, redo, there's a reason we're kind of doing it this way, which is like, if we're in the edit state, so like a command comes in, the input system looks at it. If we're in the edit state, commands will be interpreted as edit commands. So like save and load would mean like save and load the thing you're working on, right? Or undo redo would mean undoing and redoing the last like modification you made. But if, and then, you know, view commands like twist this thing around, go up or go down or whatever. These would be interpreted the same whether you're in the edit state or the play state. But if we're in the play state, then something like save or load means like save the game, load the game. Undo redo means like undo the last action that I took in like a playing context, like I assigned a movement, undo it. Undo that assignment. And it'll be interpreted differently. So some of them we aren't prepending with like a filter thing, but some of these I kind of want to. Because like the eraser tool will never be misinterpreted. So I kind of want to say tool. Something like that. I don't know, maybe it doesn't matter. So we would just go back to here. We basically say case command dot arg dot block. So block would go in here. Eraser would go in here. This is kind of an awkward way to do this. Case. Have all of these cases fall through like this. It's not elegant, but I don't know if I really care. I'm just trying to get something that's passable to me. We moved everything out of the tool system into the edit system. We might go back right now. At the moment, we're just running the edit system just for simplicity's sake. So we have our block command. Oh, so eraser actually isn't a low-level case there. It's actually erase is out here, or eraser is out here. Here's kind of why I would like a top-level tool thing or a block thing. Then we can have like a block system or a block edit subsystem kind of deal. Kind of reduce the amount of layering here. I don't like bloated like big systems. Obviously this isn't big, but I'm thinking that if we implement all of this, like the saving, the loading, the undo, the redo, all of the block placement stuff, if we implement all of that here, it'll be cool in that it would be easy because like the undo redo kind of needs to be at least in the same realm as the block placement stuff. The save and load need to as well? Maybe. Maybe not though. Save and load should be up here. Yeah, let's go back to having a tool system. Let's get all of this out of here. I don't think I should call it a tool system. I should call it something else. Got rid of a little bit too much here. There we go. I don't want to call it a block system because I might actually have a block system that like simulates stuff happening in the blocks themselves. So let's call it, let's go back to having this be a tool system. I don't totally love what I'm doing as far as like, I've got these queues of input and I'm basically cascading the input down until somebody decides that they want to deal with it. And they just pass it around from queue to queue, and it's filtered out, and then eventually a system either drops it, like consumes it and doesn't add it back to another queue, or dequeues it and actually does something with it. We're going to go back to having a tool system that handles this for us. All right, I'm just adding a thing here so we can just go through that. Why are you upset with me? You can't read game.input even though you can read that down here. It must be just because of compiler errors. We can't do that. All right, so we're going to change this up a little bit. Instead of continuing to attempt to avoid having nested switch statements here, we're going to say tool. And then so if we get a tool command, what we're going to do is we're going to say, let's store this here. We're getting copies of the queues that we need from the global. So if we have more than 0 edits to process, let's start dequeuing them. If we encounter one that we want to actually redirect, we just do this. This is really stupid, but this is what we're doing. We eventually want to save them, so if someone eventually consumes a command, we're going to put it in the logs with a... Every command has a timestamp about when it was received, and anytime a command actually gets consumed, we're going to finally put it in the logs here. We should probably put that in like history or something like that, instead of just calling it logs. It's a little unclear what that means, but we'll do that when a command is actually consumed. That way we can actually have like a preview system, or not preview, a replay system. So while I'm debugging the game, I could just replay all the inputs at like high speed and then understand how a game got into the state that it got. I think that would be very good to have. All right, so why are you upset here? We call this like input edits, input tools. Why are you upset with me? This is what I want to know. Game.input.tools. So why does it work here, but not here? Captain's log. Hey, Paul. How's it going? So this actually is going to be case. I don't think we want block select. So. We're going to change the ordering here. We're going to say tool, eraser, toggle, and then instead of block select, it's going to be tool select. Because the tool in this case is really just the block. We should probably rename it to block, but I've already stated why I don't want to do that. Hover. Hover should probably be a view thing, right? Hover is like you're mousing over different things. How's it going? Sorry, I probably asked people that 3 times and not realize I've already asked it. Happy holidays and happy new year. This is pithily our last stream of the year, obviously. Yeah, I want to rename these like to be a little more clear what they are. Input edits. Input logs. Input tools. So we need to add that to this list here. Case command.arg.tool. These will also be fed. If we're in the edit state, I kind of showed it. A lot of commands are going to be shunted through the edit system. I don't know why I put these cards here. These cards don't really explain what I'm talking about, but some will overlap. Like view commands should be processed the same way, whether we're in an edit state or a play state. That might not universally be true or remain true, but for now that's true. So we aren't really handling a play state yet, so I haven't turned this into a switch statement, which it's kind of annoyingly going to be. I tried interpreting the game state. I tried reading the game state in Godot. It did not want to do it. Like when I put something here and I was like game.current state and I called this, it was like fine with that, but then I would try to read game.state.whatever. When I tried to actually look at an enum value, it was not happy. I was not happy with that. So I'm not quite sure how we do that, but that might be a better way to avoid nested switch statements and just do it here. Because we could disregard input that doesn't really matter. The problem is we would also need to do it here because we actually receive signals. We receive input from signals. So I'm not totally sure where I want to do all of my signal process or signal filtering. Right now I'm doing it in the input system, which makes sense, but I kind of want to pre-filter some stuff. I just haven't gotten around to doing it. Anyway, let's continue to try to understand why this is fine and this is not, even though it's the same thing. Pretty sure it will be happy once I've addressed some other issues. So instead of writing command.parse, should I really just be writing enum.parse command.arg next true? That's probably what I should be doing instead. Because I kind of want this to fail no matter what. So this try parse thing that I put, this parse thing here is kind of dumb. Let's just get rid of it. So instead it's going to be enum.parse command.arg true. Get rid of the command. Nice. At least have this is function to help me, where you can pass a string and an arg to tell if they are the same. So let's just replace that. Here, we also have one here probably. Man, I'm moving slow. I guess spending a week just eating food and like just hanging out and not really working on anything. It's a little bit of work to get back into this here. So here are some problems. We don't define mouse coords here, which I don't think we want to. I think we want to. Oh, this is for the preview block though. This is why I set up a hover input here. And also kind of why I think I want to do some pre-filtering. Because like this view of this hover, we basically send new coordinates anytime the mouse moves from one tile to another, so that we're not doing it every frame. But then it's like reified, right? Now it's like a command. So I don't do this preview block thing every frame. Here it's just happening when we run. I don't want to do it when we run. I want to do it specifically if we're in edit mode. So here's a case of a command that actually needs to be interpreted differently depending on what state we're in. And it says hover. Because if we're viewing the game, yeah, we'll load some like tooltips or something maybe if we're like playing the game. But if we're in edit mode, we need to preview a block tile. We need to put down what a block would look like if we placed a block there as like a preview. So how do I want to do that? I kind of really do want to make it so that you can refer to the game state, but it wasn't working before. Let's see if we can figure it out. I got nothing better to do. So we're basically curious about C# enum API here. C# API differences. Let's look at enums, because I think maybe I was just doing it wrong. Okay, these are constants that have been moved to enums. This isn't exactly what I want. There should be one more reference. There is not. Okay. It's a collection. This isn't really what I want either. But yeah, so we have a game state set of game state enums. Right now it's like very simple. but I can't access them in Godot. I need to resolve some other compiler issues first here. So we can actually run the thing and test that thing specifically. So here's my first question. What the F is going on here? Why are you okay with it in run here? Game.input.tools, but here you're like, what? Are we being very clear what input is? No, we're not. We're saying using, how do I put this? No, I have this written down somewhere. No, is it in game? Game. Oh, do we need to do this for anyone that has access to Godot? We shouldn't need to do this. Yeah, okay, I didn't think we did, but worth trying. Oh, I'm an idiot. I need to define what it is. It's a command queue. Now I can do it. This way we're not doing like multiple lookups every single frame that we're trying to run this thing. I mean, I actually might not care. I might be actually fine with this, doing it this way. Maybe I actually prefer this. These systems, all of this stuff, these are going to be running at the whatever the simulation frequency is. And the simulation frequency is going to be like a turn. It's going to be like really low. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be low. Maybe some of the systems need to run at a higher frequency than whatever the turn is. Probably just the stuff that handles the rendering interpolation would, but like the core simulation, I think it's actually going to be quite slow, surprisingly slow. Yeah, let's just do this. I actually like this better. I don't like having it be like this. I know it's probably faster, quote unquote, to do it the other way. But I don't know if I care. This is going to run rarely enough that I don't think it matters. And this way I only have one thing I need to refactor. I don't need to refactor the like intermediate references to it. Oh, that was not right. It's views. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to try to be able to access this state enum. Not like the current state, which we can do, but like read this in Godot. Firstly, let's just make sure that everything's running and not going to crash, which I don't believe is the case. Oh, no, look at that. Okay. But what I want to do is like, let's just say in here, let's just do a quick check. Let's just say equals game.current state. So let's just call the current state. And then what we need to do is we need to say something like match. Well, we could just say match game.current state. You don't need to assign a variable. So if we match the current state comes back to us as a state, the game.state. And so what I want to do here is I want to say like case game.state.edit. And then we'll do stuff. Is that not where I put it here? Oh no, you don't use state, do you? You don't use the word state. Or case. You don't use the word case in match. So like this is legal, right? This should be legal. But I feel like when I try to run it, it's going to crash. And it does. Invalid access to property or key state on a base object of type node game.cs. What do I do about that? Do I need to make a class? Well, the class, do I need to make a C# class name? Because it's a static function, which is weird. Don't ask me why. It's a static function because there's only one of these, and I needed it to be for some reason. Oh, so people could just access it in a static state. State stack is also static, so it's fine. We only assign it once and we manipulate it, but it's never reassigned. So I think doing this in a static form is weird, but I think it's acceptable. The problem for me is I can't access this state enum. And I know it's in like another file, but like I've moved it back to the other file and that didn't help, but we can do that again just to be 100% sure about that. Just put it wherever, I guess. It doesn't really matter. So we put it in here so that it's in the same file. And we rerun it. Same problem. What if I try to add a class name to the game script, which I don't know how to do in C#, but I can figure it out. All right. Godot API for C#. C# basics? No. Godot API differences. So like, let's see where they have class name. Nowhere. All right, we have exports and stuff. Where's class name? Global classes, I guess. Ah, so this is what I need to do. So I can make this a global class. Will this work? Probably not, but let's try it. I'll do something. Nope. Okay, now it says node game, not node dot. So do I need to save this as game? Maybe? Still can't. It recognizes this class now, which is cool. Should I say it like this instead? Nope, it doesn't like that. Oh, because it's not in that file. But what if we moved it back into the file? Type is node. I've made my class a global class, my game class a global class that extends node. So I feel like I can say class, because that's how I would do it in GDScript. Is you could say, you could define, you could say like class name is whatever extends node, and then you could say whatever instead of node. So I feel like that part is okay. Okay, it still can't find state in the game class. Hey, Ryson. How's it going? Welcome in. I appreciate the input. We're at the intersection between C# and GDScript, and we're having a bad time. I'm trying to read. I basically have this root node that's this game node that's kind of the boundary between two worlds, between the C# world where we're doing the game sim and the GDScript world, which is where we're doing like rendering, UI, stuff like that. So this is the input handler, and it's trying to get some stuff out of this game script, basically the current world state, which it can get. It can pull this down, no problem. But the problem is I'm trying to do a search. I'm trying to compare it to different states, and it is not happy with that because it just can't identify or find this game.state enum. That's the problem we're currently running into. Maybe if I just change it to game lowercase g, is it going to work now? Oh, well, I guess it wasn't a compiler error. It was a runtime error before. Let's see if it's still a runtime error. Yep, still a runtime error. Following. Looks like that is the same script that is already attached to your game node. This isn't. This is an auto load. This is a global script called input handler. I'm just mousing over it here. Yeah. It's not on itself. They're actually, if we actually click the script associated with the game, it takes us over here. Yeah, this is awkward. There's something I'm not understanding about how this works. Yeah, no worries. I get confused by that all the time because whenever I click on a scene, I expect, or whenever I click on a tab, I expect it to take me to the script that's associated with this tab, and it doesn't do it, and it drives me insane. The fact that you have to use this other thing if you want to change scripts. It should at least automatically do it. If I'm in the Stardock tab, it should jump to this script or something. Or there should be an option to set that up so that it works like that. I don't know. Cause yeah, that confuses me endlessly where I'm jumping around scenes and I'm like, what script am I in? Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why it does that. I hate it. I hate it a lot. Where are we even? We're in the input handler. Usually use VS Code. Oh, that's cool. Even for GDScript, that's reasonable. I kind of try to keep it separate. I try to keep my GDScript here. So yeah. So I kind of want to. What if we just try to do this? What if we just? I just want to print the current state. I want to see what we get back if I print the current game state. What do we even get? 1. Okay, so I get an int. Oh, okay, we can work with this. We can work with this. This is going to be scuffed, but we can do this. So menu is 0. I don't want that. Actually, I guess menu is fine. We're gonna actually not do that. We're gonna have 0 represent an uninitialized state. I feel like the UX kind of suffers in some areas. Leon, that trips you up in Godot all the time. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's open source, so like, there's no reason we can't just fix that. But like, it's kind of annoying. I'm sure someone has a good reason it doesn't work that way. Yeah, I like the simplicity of Godot. When I was learning the first year, I was like learning Godot. I just stayed in here. I just stayed in here using GDScript and stuff, and it was fine. It's like a little small, but like you can biggerize it and like do a split window thing, I guess. Actually, can you do split window? I thought you could. I feel like you can, and I just don't remember how. Maybe you can't. You can just do pop out maybe? Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. Oh, now I lost my script. There it is. Yeah, I don't know. It's not great. I jumped back to Writer for the first time in a while a couple months ago, and I'm. You miss your Vim motions? Ah, okay. Yeah. I'm back in Writer for the first time in a while, and I'm enjoying it. It's nice to have some of the power of like the various features, like the auto completes and stuff. The very full featured auto completes. They're not as good as obviously like Copilot or something like that you get in like VS Code, but it's good enough for me, honestly, most of the time. All right, so we are gonna just, here's the part that is kind of scuffed. Do we need to keep track of a dictionary? Like a separate dictionary so that we can do this? Because it's not letting me read the game.state enum, but it might let me read a dictionary or an array. We could have just an array. So we could have like uh, just have a string array, call it like states. Well, it would be null. It wanted to auto do it for me and I didn't let it. There we go. So this is really dumb, but this might actually work. I will misuse this all the time. I will forget what that's for. So can we instead match game state and then just use that as an index? We would say 1. Well, I guess we want it to be a dictionary, don't you? So does it expose the enum to the GDScript side, or is that what you're wrestling with right now? Yeah, it doesn't. That's the thing, is it doesn't. I can't access the. It's weird because it's being converted to an integer, and that's fine. But it would be great if I could just say game.state.edit pass. But the thing is, it just complains that it doesn't have this. And like, I can just use numbers. I can just use the integer values, but I kind of don't want to because that's very prone to error. And actually, we don't actually want this because this is meaningless. I mean, it's relatively meaningless. That's not useful. It would be great to just get this enum accessible. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna try to. Let's try to Google something. C# enum not accessible in GDScript. Make C# enum available in GDScript. 2 years old. They want to use cross scripting, but it's really bugging them. They've defined an enum in a C# file, like whatever. You want to use that in GDScript. Vent.1. Godot doesn't have enums, so that's not possible. Well, the rip. Is that true? Godot doesn't have enums? Shit. Okay. Those things that look like enums that use the enum keyword are nothing more than a dictionary of type string integer. Those things that use the enum keyword without a variable name are just constants inside curly braces. What you could do is redefine your enum in GDScript and cast it to your C# enum when you're using it in C#. Value is just an integer, so that should be possible. Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to go backwards, go the other way. Well, that's silly. Can you put... I mean, this is 3 years old. This might not be accurate with Godot 4. Godot 4 might have changed their ways. So these are just constants, right? So it really is a different structure. Maybe I should just define the enum on the GDScript side. Guy's just being a dweeb. I mean, I get his point. It does seem wrong when you think about it, but yeah, maybe we just need to define this somewhere else. Or define it in such a way that it's accessible to the other thing. It was nice having it be an enum, but it could be something else. All right, how do I want to do this? So the GDScript side just gets the int. It just gets... And I don't want to do a match off an int because that feels like that's prone to error, but whatever. I mean, that's the annoying thing, is if I could just say... If I could at least just say game.state.edit. Do I need to say game.state? No. Okay, so it recognizes that. Yeah, it doesn't recognize enums. That's the problem. I don't want to mirror them. Maybe a dictionary under the hood, but there's additional type enforcement that comes with the enum keyword. Oh, that's a good point. That is a good point. What if I did it like this? What if we said public dictionary, Godot dictionary? Oh, these can't be typed anymore, yet, can they? Oh yeah, they can. So T key. So we'd say key of an int. Do it as a string. This is just because I want to be able to read what I'm doing. We could call it states. We could say it's we would say something like one menu. Why are you unhappy with me? Is this not how you do that here? Key string value int, wouldn't it be? No, because I want to go backwards. I don't know. C sharp, can you pull the enum declaration out of the class declaration? I could. That might be the thing to do. Let's try that. That's a good idea. But I wanted to go backwards because I would get an int back from the current state. And so I would just want to be able to verify that I'm getting the right value. So I'd have a lookup to a string so I could just read it. But yeah, it would still be terrible. That's still not the way we should do this. So let's see if we can get away with this. Let's see if Godot can recognize this if it's just I feel like the answer is no. Di dot state dot. I don't know how we would access this is the thing. Maybe I should define it here in GDScript and then look it up in C sharp. You could call dot keys on it, then index by the int. That's a good idea. That's not terrible. That's not terrible. Let's try this. How do I want to do this? I really don't want to do it this way. I don't want to assign it. I don't want to define it in GDScript. I don't want to maintain it in two places for sure. I guess a dictionary is probably the best thing we can do. Like this. Let's just see if we can actually even, let's not worry about initializing it. Let's just see if we can even access this. Game.states. Well, I probably can't access it because it's probably not in the right file. It should probably be in the main file. And maybe that doesn't matter. Should be static, maybe? I don't know. Probably should be static. Game.states. Suspicious. Possible to get the GDScript enum on the C# side, so you wouldn't have to maintain it in two spots. Yeah, I think so. I think it's possible to do it that way. I don't want to. but it's probably possible. Let's test that by like just putting one here. Oh. Oh, I'm doing a match. I shouldn't do a match. Just say game.states. Is this a thing? Oh, that seems to work. Maybe we'll just store it as a dictionary. Valid access to property or key states on a base object of type node game. So even if it's a static dictionary, it's not letting me access it, which is super weird because I can access current state, pop state, and push state just fine. You recognize it? You don't even recognize it in the list of members. It's very weird, very weird. Here. Here's a really stupid way that we're gonna do this. Um, I have an idea. Check spelling. I don't think that was the problem there because I was just states. It was just the word states. But let's see if we can do it. Let's see if we can do it this way. This is really dumb, but this might be sufficient for what we're trying to do. I don't like that. Don't tab that. Are you tabbing that? Okay, let's try this again. Let's try this a couple different ways. So state is going to be states state. Int. I guess it'll actually be int. I just want to have a visual way of like verifying that it's the thing that I want. So we can say match game.current state. Actually, I want to say match game.states game.current state. Is that acceptable? Edit. Pass. This probably isn't going to be acceptable, but maybe. It's just an array. Nope. Yeah, it's weird. It can't recognize really any data structure that's not a static function. And since that's the case, what we're going to do, let's actually say state as string. And actually, let's not have this. Let's just say states current state int. This is really dumb, but this would be safe. This should be safe for GDScript. So we can just get the state as a string. I don't know if there's a way to get an enums key in text form, but I know it's not like a key. It's like a key in the same way that a dictionary has a key, but I'm curious. Well, I have to maintain two lists, but at least I can do it in the same place. So instead, let's say this. Let's say match game dot state as string. Let's actually just print that and be done with this, hopefully. It really doesn't matter how we implement this as long as it's maintainable. Is the current state member variable accessible in a static function? It is. It shouldn't be, but it is. Yeah, edit. I'm being kind of bad about that. Because what we're doing, this feels wrong, but it's legal. Yeah, game is a singleton, so it's accessible. Its members are accessible as static functions in awkward ways. So like I have implemented the state stack as a static read-only list, and we add to it. We add to the list, but we never reassign it, so we can do this. You can just ask the current state, and it will just take the top of the stack and give it to you. So yeah, it's gross. It's a gross singleton pattern that we're using, but this game node really is our like bridge between these two worlds that really don't seem to want to talk to each other at all. Okay, so that works. So edit. All right, so we can do some pre-processing here then. That actually makes me happier. Because then we don't have to do the state filtering here. We don't have to do it here, which I don't want to do. I don't want to do it here when we enqueue, but actually we could. Man, we could have just done it here and avoided all of that. We could add a switch here. Oh, but that actually doesn't solve the problem very much. I mean, I kind of like having an input system that just does an initial check and filters the inputs into the correct whatevers. Kind of stupid that that's how we're doing this. So the reason I was going to do it like this was so that we could take an action that is very much mode dependent, which is hover, and filter that correctly. Should actually probably get rid of some of this. I don't know. Now that we've done it, I don't know if I'm actually going to use it, but c'est la vie. Might just take view out of all of these. I don't know. I kind of want just to have the verbs, like the actual actions associated with these. And we'll interpret, which is kind of why I don't want to have tool here. But it's a nice way of simplifying the checks. I don't know. So we could have this a number of different ways. Like you could basically have these actions that do different things depending on the state, which I don't love. We could also have the system listen for different actions. So maybe like this shift down key behaves differently if we're in an edit mode versus we're in like a view mode. I don't think it does, but this is the idea. I mean, we already have the idea of like the saving and the loading and the undo and the redo doing different things depending on what state we're in. So I kind of like the idea of interpreting our state here. Just doing all the state filtering here in the input handler and then not worrying about it anywhere else. I kind of like that. Because then we can pre-filter some of these. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So here we'd say like, match. What did I say? It was match game dot state as string. And we'd have edit. And so edit would get edit hover. You could also have view. We'd say game.enq input view hover boards. We could do this a little differently too. We could even make this simpler. We could say if game.state as string is edit or whatever. Who cares? Do one call there and just branch like this. So I like this better. This mouse press thing could be different too, because right now it's a block press, and that's for okay, no, that's actually different. But let's say we have like we have a left click or a right click on the game board. If we're in edit mode, left clicking on the game board would like place a block. But if we're in gameplay mode, left clicking on the game board would, select an object that's already there. It would select like a player, a character or something, or a block that could be used. So yeah, I think filtering here is fine. I kind of like doing it all in one place and not worrying about it. And then hopefully we can limit the amount of nested switch cases that we have in our later systems. So here, well, if we read the exit game thing, we're probably just gonna process that no matter what. Otherwise, everything is, well, we're actually gonna process all the view commands no matter what too at the moment. And then here we could say if we could say game dot state as string is edit. Right now we're going to do it like this because these don't make any sense otherwise. We don't even need to check for these otherwise right now. Eventually that won't be true and this will be a big match statement, but right now we're only checking for one state. So that's fine. So that would be tool. Well, we should say edit. You could say tool. Eventually I think we'll say block. Maybe we'll say block now that we know that's nested within. Now we'll say tool. Here, we actually would, same thing here, this block pressed thing. I'm not going to do a state check because it shouldn't exist if we're not in this state, which is risky. That's a risky assumption to make, but I'm okay with it. Same thing here. We're going to start with edit for these. Oops. Let's just grab this and make this easy, huh? Okay. And now this is simple. This is simple and straightforward. So here, when we get to the game, it enqueues everything. That's not an exit command. The exit command is just going to execute. Everything else just gets enqueued in the raw queue. The input system doesn't need to worry about all these. We get rid of this cascading case list. arg.edit. So if it's an edit command, it goes into the edits queue. If it's a view command, it goes into the views queue. And now instead of command.init, we can do command.next, which actually it moves the iterator along, the command iterator. So the next one to call the iterator will actually get the command after edit or after view. Okay, this is okay. This could be worse. Live fast, die young. Yeah. Anything you're working on, Ryson? You'd like to share? I think I'd be interested to hear about it. I'm always curious what projects people are working on. Okay, so that's good. I like this. I like the direction we're going with this. So the input system is the first tier. It'll just split them into edit and view. Our system's very lightweight. Obviously, there's quite a bit of overhead. There's gonna be some overhead of running many systems, but I don't know if I care. I don't think it's gonna be enough to matter. Okay, we're getting rid of these. Game.input.edits. Game.input.edits. Game.input.tools. Okay, so when the edit system hits these, it's going to it'll requeue a tool command, and then the other ones here, save, load, undo, redo, it will probably do itself. It might actually redirect most of these as well. We'll see. The saving and loading it can probably handle. Undo, redo, I'm a little less sure about whether we can do that here or not. I actually am virtually certain we can't do it here, but let's not worry about it. Excuse me. Let's not worry about that right now. Just a Flappy Bird clone. Not really an active project, though. No worries. Just curious. I think working on small projects is cool. My style is to work on a project that's so big that progress is measured in very small adjustments. It's probably not the best thing to watch, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We finished this month and a little last month. We worked on our entity component system, and we've got all of that stuff set up. Now we're just routing input around that will be consumed by our systems, and the systems are going to handle all our edit stuff, and we're basically refactoring and remaking. Well, at the moment, we're just re-implementing this. Let me get rid of that so that I can run this thing. We're just re-implementing my auto tiler setup, which right now works in just pure GD script and not using the entity component system. It's just a dumb auto tiler everything's being stored directly in the tile map, which is not how we want to do this. So we can make I'm very happy with the auto tiler, and we just thought of some ways we're going to extend that to do some other things for us. Let's make a big area here. And we'll go back up here and we'll fill in the floor. But yeah, this is for our like isometric 3D implementation of FTL here that we're working on. Right now it's just tools that will let me build the ships that we need. And this all runs in game, which is kind of silly, but that's kind of how we've done it. We can rotate things. Right now we can just make these flying housing blocks, but it's going to be really cool. We've already separated the rendering and the gameplay data to an extent, which is why we can just rotate these tile maps around, which is not trivial. But yeah, we're going to end up with more functionality soon. This is kind of the... Oh my god, how many windows do I have? This is kind of the style we're going for. Yeah, that's what you're trying to avoid by forcing yourself to do small projects and build up. Typically, you get shiny object syndrome and never finish anything. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. That looks wicked. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we're very excited about it. We're building the auto tiler is like using very... We talked about it at the beginning of the stream, but we're using very small pieces. So like, we're not using the whole block. We're actually building each thing. I'm in Slice Tool again, aren't I? We're actually building it out of a combination of the individual faces. So the auto tiler picks the faces and picks the outlines. So it just pulls from this tile set that's very sparse because I wanted room to add to it. And it picks out everything. Because the combinatorics of this sort of thing are insane. I know I show this like kind of a lot, but I spent time on this, so I think it's fun. But like, this is all the possible outline combinations for a tile block. So like, let's go to the upper left. Here's just like if all the outlines are engaged, and then each here you can see what happens if there's like an overlapping tile nearby of the same type. And then this ends up being... These are all the outline combinations that you might have for a block. So our auto tiler does all of this calculation for us and selects the right tiles. And it's kind of wild. So we're really leaning onto that. I was also talking earlier about using the auto tiler to build these texture buttons for us so that we can actually list out all of the buildable palettes by just pulling them from our sprite atlas, which I think will be cool. Right now we've just got the core 3, which is like floor block plus wall block. But there will be a bunch more. We'll add all of our I really want to get the straight slopes in here. Because I feel like we can't really start doing any kind of silhouette design, like actually making ship designs, like the look of them, until we start getting some angled pieces. I want to get some curvy slopes too, but I haven't had a chance to do that yet. What time is it? Okay, it's only 12. Wow. Thanks. I appreciate the positive feedback here. Because that's the problem with doing a big project like this is I'm being very careful to make sure that I don't break anything. Like I've got that whole, like all I have to do is turn off an auto loader to make it work. But like I have this whole thing that just, it still works. It uses an outdated system that we're moving away from, but it like technically still works. I find that really helpful. One, it helps me because I'm streaming this and I need to be able to show what I'm working on to people. But it also helps me from motivation. I've learned that like when I've gotten my game into a state where it's not playable for extended periods of time, I mean this isn't playable, nothing's happening, but at least it runs. When I get it out of that state and it's not playable or compilable or whatever you want to call it for extended periods of time, I just cannot bring myself to work on it sometimes. It just becomes very demotivating. So after the edit system, we need to run the tools system. So we'll run the tool system. The tool system is going to look for eraser. It's going to look for hover, case command.arg.hover. We needed to get that in here. So hover is going to cause this. So hover is going to trigger this check. We need to check to see if we'll say variable coords equals command dot next. That's what we should expect. Oh, it's more complicated than this, isn't it? How do I do that? How do I get... Oh, it's this. So I have a process for parsing the string into vectors. Is that one... Do we need to do that now? What's the order here? It's hover coords. Okay, so it is next. So we're going to borrow the code from down here. We're going to say coords equals... We're going to say vector 3i coords. Use tile map layers auto tiling features for all that? No, I did not. Tile map layers auto tiling features do not work for that because this is isometric. That's a totally custom auto tiler I made. It's actually cool. It can actually take an arbitrary number of layers as input. Because normally if you have a tile map, an auto tiler, you'll have like a water layer and a ground layer or something like that. And all the auto tiler is doing is like making the edges between the two layers pretty. Our auto tiler currently reads 7 different layers. It's wild. I can show you the structure of the thing that it reads. Where would it be? Starship, hull stack, deck level 0. Yeah, this is all the layers that it reads for just one level, like one level of the ship, and each level of the ship can work with the auto tiler. And actually, I guess each level of the ship will inform the level above and below it. So the auto tiler actually reads an arbitrary number of layers. I'm sorry, I'm excited. I spent a lot of time on that. But yeah, it reads the floor X layer, the Y layer, the Z layer, the wall X layer, the wall Y layer, the wall Z layer, the door layer. And it also reads, so like the floor will like read the wall layer for the deck level below it. And the wall will read the floor layer from the deck level above it. So yeah, there's a lot of it's very ridiculous what's happening there. Close all these. Are you going to implement undo redo? Yes, we already had an undo redo system. We had a snapshot system, which was really snazzy. That's what I called it. I called it a snapshot system. And it basically worked for saving and loading and undo redo. But the problem is it was basically just operating on the, I don't know where it is. It was basically operating on the tile map data. So we were using the tile map data to store all of that information. Here it is. We were just storing all of the tile map data as a packed byte array for the snapshot. And that's like all of the tile map data for like all the different tile map layers. And it was kind of wild. It worked super well, but the problem is we're not using tile maps to store the information anymore. So we'll do a similar thing, maybe with a packed byte array. We'll probably do the serialization on the C# side, but we'll store it a little differently. But yeah, it was really easy to store all of the byte data Very, very, very easy to save and load that and undo redo by just going through the history. We need to re-implement that now that we are doing everything with entity components and buffers and stuff. All right, so back to what we were doing. We're saying coords is enum.parse. No, we don't need to parse. We need to say it's just vector3i dot from string command.next. That's it. That's the coords. So we need to check to say if... Oh, I want to do this differently. I want to put this on the AABB itself. But I guess this is fine. For right now, this is fine. We'll just use the utility function that I made. And then we'll preview block at the coords. All right, so now probably don't need to have it do it like this. We could probably do it as like a, yeah, just do that. Maybe I don't love that. Maybe we just, I don't usually like having braces for one thing, but, oh, we actually need to, we need to do two things. So we need to preview at coordinates, and we also need to game dot, if we consume an input, we need to add it to the logs so that we can do a replay. We could use the inputs for undo redo, but I kind of don't want to do it that way, but we might do it that way. We could totally use the logs for both purposes. Input.logs.enqueue command. So we're just gonna store this command that we processed. If we don't process a command, I kind of just want to ditch it. I don't want to keep it around. I guess in that case we should do that for all of these. Yeah. Yeah. Anything that changes state needs to be enqueued in the logs. Needs to be kept, any input that changes state. Okay, so this will trigger the preview block at using these coords. Preview block, do you restore? The preview block should reveal the previous block. Preview block is hiding blocks. It's covering up whatever block was there as you like drag the mouse around. Hover lets us know when this has happened, in that we can do this. But what we need to know is what the prior coordinates were. Like what were the coordinates of our last hover? And so that I should probably just store in here somewhere. Prior coords. Because regardless of whether we are previewing a new block, we want to undo the old block either way. So we would first we could say if hidden blocks dot has, they're not a dot has. I thought there was a dictionary dot has. contains, I guess that's what it's called, contains key, prior coords. So yeah, okay, so if we've hidden a block at this prior coordinate, we want to reveal block at prior coords. And then we'll do all of this and we'll say prior coords is coords. Okay, we just need to make sure we're cleaning this up as this is happening. Because we want the good behavior here of, being able to drag the tile around like this. And if you go off the screen, then you stop previewing, but you need to make sure you've cleaned it up. Same deal if we go down, if we go down a layer and the new layer isn't included, we want to hide it as well. So yeah, we want to recreate all of this behavior. But we're doing it better. We're not doing it every frame. We're doing it discreetly for when commands come in. Because basically we're only getting this command when we've popped over into a new tile. Otherwise we're not doing it. All right. Ryson, so that tile is being added to the tile map structure as it follows the mouse? Yes, for a very important reason. So like here it's fine because it's like whatever, but if you watch this, we're using a similar process when I'm doing this because this is also a preview. Like I'm holding the mouse down, so this isn't permanent yet, right? Like you could think of this as just one big preview. So we need the auto tiler to operate on this, so it needs to make a structural change. Yeah. The problem is the preview needs to be real, quote unquote. Otherwise the auto tiler won't be able to handle it. It needs to be stored along with all the existing structures. Because like, let me finish this. So I'm going to release the mouse and this will become permanent. Done. Now, if you can watch if I send the preview tile around here, the auto tiler is, respecting it. It's removing the outlines where they're not necessary. So yeah, our preview system is kind of complicated. It's not just a ghost that follows it around. It's like a temporary structural change that we need to move and keep track of so that the auto tiler can handle all this stuff. It's fine to do because we can only do this in the game edit mode, so it's not like anyone would be running around. It's not like it would impact gameplay at all to have a temporary tile moving around like this, but it works from a responsiveness standpoint. So yeah, it works on this in these cases too. Like if I make a wall here, because we also have a flood fill algorithm that can tell a compartment. So this is an open air room. If I bring it in here, so it's under the walls, it changes color and it becomes an interior compartment. But if I turn the eraser on, it loses that status because I'm like punching a hole in it. So yeah, the eraser tool, the preview tool, the preview thing has a very real impact. But I think it's good. I think you should be able to see what change you're about to make is. But yeah, it's annoyingly complicated. It's more annoyingly complicated than I wanted for a tile preview system. So this version of it works in theory. We're not watching this version. This is not the version that is being triggered here. We do need to record that a block tool change has happened. How am I going to do that? So instead of just the input queue, I kind of want another queue. I mean, we could make an entity, but I don't think that's the way to do it. I kind of want to... we have block replaced and block tool changed. Oh yeah, so if block eraser mode is engaged. I need more information. I guess we can check prior coord. We can say... So if we switch, whatever we switch the eraser to, or whenever we switch the eraser, we also need to do a block preview, because if we engage the eraser, we might replace the block that is there. Does preview block do that automatically and I'm just a fool? No, it's overwriting the hidden blocks. It's not attempting to... I feel like I could link these two more directly. Or make it like try reveal block at and like do some checking. And like make it try preview block at and make it a little less complicated in this. Excuse me. I might end up doing that. But let's see. So if we engage or disengage the eraser mode, that will have an impact on our current block. And so what we should do though is we should preview the block, because it may have an impact. And if it doesn't, whatever. Doesn't matter. We should at least try though. Preview block at prior coords. Because the prior coords will be wherever we've currently moused over. Well, it'll be the last place we've... Oh, shoot. No, we can't just do that. I guess we do this. We do the full check. It's kind of why I want to put this check inside the preview block function. But let's not do it right now, because I might actually change the way that works. So we're going to try to preview the block at the prior coords if we engage or disengage the eraser, because that could matter. So we got that. Either way, we're enqueuing this command because we need to keep track of what the current eraser mode is. And then select. Select should also, once this has all been, block eraser mode equals true. Fuck. It's not right. We should also try. See, I'm just going to put this in the function. We're just going to return. So if we're not within the bounds here, max build volume and negative max build volume. Is that right? That feels wrong. That doesn't feel like the right parameters to be passing, but I don't care right now. Let's simplify this. So let's get rid of this conditional. And we're going to rename this to try preview block. Probably make that better English. Right, and yeah, you'd handle the prior coords check revert in the preview block at method. Yeah, I'm thinking about that, about doing that, about trying to revert the prior coords as well in here. It's a little tricky because just because we're previewing a block, well, I need to think about it more clearly for that case that I showed you where we're like previewing out in a rectangle. Like we're not just previewing one tile at a time, but we're like blowing up and previewing out in like an array, like in a two-dimensional array. Because in that case, you don't actually want to, you don't necessarily want to reveal the block. We could call this try reveal block at and do the check though. We could do this part. We could do we could say if not hidden blocks dot con, why is this all just completely fucked? I thought I somehow broke everything. Don't totally understand how. If not, return. Should I not have had a semicolon there? Yeah, I should have a semicolon there. And then this, hidden blocks. Why can't you, private I broke something here. Switch, why is the switch statement here? Oh, that's right. I broke something around here. Oh, there's this, there we go. Like, where did I cause the horrible compile error? We're gonna call this try reveal block. This way, my switch statement is nice and compact. If not hidden blocks not contained, just return. Whatever, don't even bother. Excuse me. Okay, now we can at least try it, and if the circumstances aren't warranted, we will just early out. I think that's fine. It's a really fine way to do it. Why am I trying this twice? Oh, this should be try. Oh, that was try reveal. Try reveal block. Yep. Reveal hidden block. Try preview block at. We say this instead of, we don't need to reveal for the eraser. We only need to do the reveal at the hover. Here also, we need to do a try preview block at coords. Oh, but we don't have coords, prior coords. All right, I like that. That's reasonable. Let's. No, this is good. This is reasonable. It's warning me that my switch statements don't capture every section. Kind of don't care about that. I'm kind of going to configure that. I don't want to know about that. I mean, I know that that's the case. Well, maybe I do want to know about that. I don't know. We've hidden it for now. I can actually get rid of a resharper thing somewhere. I don't know where. That was bothering me, so I put a resharper somewhere. Who knows? Here, get rid of that. Does it still warn you if you have a default case? No. That warning goes away if you have a default case. So I should just make a default case that's like does something, but I kind of want to discard the default case. Like unless I've specified the procedure to handle an argument, if an argument gets passed to me, I just want to drop it. Because some of these, right now it's not the case, but some of these systems might have an opinion about the state or about something else. I don't know. I don't know. It'd probably be good to have a default so I'm not forgetting something. All right. Okay. So in theory, we're blocking out preview blocks. Let's test this to the extent that I can. I can't test it much, but I can try a little. I can see if I get a weird error. Utility, input handler, add. If I play this, what kind of compiler errors do I get? None. What if I start clicking things? Look at that. Stuff's happening. Debugger 9 errors. Get archetype. Archetype not found. Oh no. Corresponding archetype. No corresponding archetype mapped to the entity for this entity ID. That is an interesting error. Should probably run this in debug mode and figure out why that is the case. Is it when I click like this? No? Is it when I click like this? Yep. You don't need this. That's too much. So get archetype, get component, try preview block. Okay, so we're trying to get a buffer that doesn't exist, is my presumption. For entity ID 0. Ah. How do we do this here? What are we doing here? So we're getting... Oh, we've defined a construction entity. Kind of want to rename that something else. Right now we've just defined like a static thing that is like the entity that we're building off of for now, because there's only one. It's like a stopgap here. And that's just entity 0. So I just need to create said entity. Game.world.construction entity. Construction in progress. What did I set that bool up for? Get private set. Okay. So you're just starting at 0. Okay, well, let's just reserve the first entity right now for now. We'll make that part of the test system. We have a test system. We might as well use it. So you're going to game.world.create entity. Excuse me. Component.flags.entity ID. I actually want to change this. I feel like this is how we create an entity right now. You can define more than just this. I could say entity ID or component.flags.position or whatever, but I kind of want it to presume that there's going to be an entity ID. So I kind of need to change the default constructor here for creating an entity. I mean, it's not a real constructor, but I need to change that. Let's actually do that. So when we say create entity, I could have just clicked the thing. It took me right there. So we pass in a composition. Oh no, I did fix it. So get archetype is composition or component flags dot entity ID. Do we use this anywhere else? And then we set the ID component. Okay, no, so I already do that, so I don't need to pass the entity ID flag in. I don't need to do that anymore. Good. I didn't want to. So all this entity is going to have currently is a block buffer, which I can't actually, can I just pass in nothing? Make this an optional field. The value of type component flags cannot be used as a default parameter because there's no standard conversions to type composition. That's not true. And I can do an explicit conversion if that'll shut you up. Okay, I know there's a way to convert from an entity of a flag to a whatever, who cares? I'm just gonna say new. I should be able to do this. Kind of annoyed that I can't do this. Guess I can just have a version of this. Let's just do that. Let's say public entity ID create entity, and then this is just going to call create entity new composition. I guess that's fine. Don't even need to do that much. Whoa, what? Oh, okay, I can just do the collection expression? That doesn't seem right. Well, can I just say this then? No? Should I just make it new? Should I just do this? Is this the easier way to do this? Method with optional parameter is hidden by overload. Oh, so we can just get rid of the overload. Okay, so now you're upset with this. Must be compile time constant. Okay. Do that. You could do it like this. I kind of like the overload better. Can you make a CTOR for composition that takes an entity ID? Well, here's what a composition is. Oh, can I make a CTOR? Yeah, yeah, okay. I could do that. Well, so I have a composition has some implicit operators that should let me interchange component flags for compositions. It just shouldn't care. Constructor. Can you make a constructor for composition that takes an entity ID? Yeah. The composition takes component flags, so that's fine. And you should be able, you shouldn't even need to, we can just convert between the two. So I could just make, I could make a composition constructor. You're right. I could make a composition constructor that doesn't take a, that just has no parameter. Or that takes I don't know. Like this should work is the thing. Like I don't totally understand why it was yelling at me about the optional component thing about just doing this. Do I have to say this? Like that? No, yeah. Like this should be fine. So it doesn't like this. It can't be used as a default parameter because there are no standard conversions to type composition. I don't totally get that. There is a conversion. I guess it doesn't like it. I don't know. I basically don't want to have to say, because you could easily just say create entity and pass in component flags.entity ID. I just don't want you to have to do that. It's not necessary. So I think I'm just going to stick with my stupid overload. We'll just end up with a blank composition. Or I mean, I could make it very clear what's happening by saying this is happening. If we try to create an entity and we don't pass anything in, we'll just create an entity with the entity ID. Yeah. I don't know. This thing yells at me sometimes and I'm sure you have a good reason, but I don't understand what you're complaining about. Yeah, our composition is snazzy. It's just a bit flag or a bit field of component flags. It's really great. It's really easy for us to tell what an entity is composed of. And it's pretty lightweight. But yeah, let's just do that. Let's just have an overload that takes no and just yeah, we'll just do this. This is simple. And then here we have another catch. So even if someone does pass in a composition, they don't have to include the entity ID. We're just going to always include the entity ID in the composition no matter what. I could probably do that somewhere else. I could probably do that on the composition itself. Just always enforce the inclusion of an entity ID. That's maybe the right way to do this. Yeah, I don't know. How would I do that? I guess I would just write some explicit constructors. I think it's easier to just do this because this is a record struct, so it actually wants to just use this field here. I don't want to mess around with it. What we have is adequate. All right. Well, that fixes that. And then so back here in the test system, I can just say gameworld.create entity, which is a little annoying because what I then need to do is say gameworld.add buffer. Oh, I need to say, or I could say this. I could do this. So I can just add the buffer to a newly created entity. Pass this in. Get rid of this. Get rid of all of this. All right, well, this will at least create our construction entity temporarily. Reserving entity ID 00 for the so-called construction entity. Can I say, should I do it like this? Should I do like CRF? E. Oh, why am I doing that? I'm not writing I thought I was writing a documentation for a second. I'm just writing a note here. Yeah, this should work. So that should resolve that issue. I don't think I'm passing the right volume information about the size of said thing. No? Still didn't work. There's no archetype map to the entity ID. Index 0, version 0. Oh, I'm not running the test system. Let's run the test system. Let's get the move system out of here. It would help to run the test system. Okay, we're getting a different bug now. Progress. All right, so what are we doing? So we're trying to preview this block. I think I need to write a new toString. I need to write a new toString function for my vectors. There's two. You can't really see it, but this is all the field data for them. It's all these generated properties. Oops. The record struct's default way of printing values is including all of them, which is more than I want. Oh God, and it's printing them out when they're included in other structs. That's not good. Okay. Well, next thing to fix. Progress, yeah. The next bug is always progress. So hidden blocks coords equals buffer index. Why is this a problem? System.span. So the block span is big. I see that. And what's the error though? No reference exception. Object not set to an instance of an object. What isn't? Hidden blocks? Oh, did I just not initialize these? Oh, I'm an idiot. Actually, we don't even need to do this. We can do the, oh no, we can do that like that. Is it that or is it just this? It's not this. Oh, is it also, can also be that? What do we prefer? Probably this. That's an easy one. All right, that bug should be squashed. Stepping away for a bit. No worries, Ryson. I appreciate you hanging out. All right, no more bugs. Bugs resolved. I mean, we're not doing anything. Oh. Oh, these are... The rendering server is like leaking resources. I don't know. It's not me. Servers, rendering device. Y'all leaking. Y'all texture leaking over here. I'm sure it's in some roundabout way my fault. All right, so I want to fix that thing I spotted. What did I spot? Oh yeah, our vector, and it's a very overeager print function. So we want to write our own print function. Our own toString is what we want to write. Do I have a toString, a custom toString for any of these? I used to. I don't remember if I do anymore. I thought I did. Do you have a custom toString? You have a print value. Oh, that's different. It's the A, B, B. No? Huh. Block buffer? Do you have your own toString? Jesus. Oh, okay. I didn't write my own toString for any of these. The record struct default toString implementation is like pretty good. Is how that works. But it's being a little over eager with my custom vector classes. It's printing out all of these properties like it's printing out .xy, min axis, max axis. Where are my .xy's? All my like little oh, I guess vector 2 doesn't have any. Like vector 3 has, I like the little swizzle properties. Like if I have a vector 3, I love being able to go .xy to just get only the xy vectors or the xy components, and like or .xz or .yz or whatever. I love being able to do that, but all of these extra little properties are getting printed out when we do a toString, and that I do not want. So let's add a toString. Let's go back to the first one, and then we'll copy it over. Is it going to be that simple? Possibly. I think it might be that simple. All right. That should be fine. So toString overrides the default toString implementation. I'm going to call it the record struct toString implementation. I want it to be on one line. Get rid of the. Nope. we're going to call it, overrides the default two-string implementation. Wow. How am I going to get this on a one line, man? There we go. Overrides default two-string implementation. A string of the format XY. Go. Okay. Now we just copy this over to our others. XY. Z. Oh, is this actually gonna... No, it should fit. It should all fit. Vector 4. You want to know why I wrote my own vector string implementation, or vector integer vector implementation? I don't have a good answer. I just wanted to be able to change it and extend it. But I acknowledge that it was a waste of time. I do this. I almost never do documentation like this, but I figured if I was going to make a class like this, it's not a class. If I was going to make like a big struct like this, I was going to make it and I was going to document it. I almost never add documentation until something's mostly finished, and I feel like nothing is ever finished. Okay, well that should resolve that crazy overloading print problem that the default record struct print was giving us. Should be nice and simple. All right, I gotta wrap it up soon. Is there anything else we can get that's like easy? The next thing is going to be, well, so the preview block is actually altering the block buffer. We're actually loading up the block buffer from our construction entity and writing to it in both of these cases. So we should be able to use that to do something. So I think we need to start with the tile system, or at least the hull system, because our system, when we do this thing, when we're drawing out stuff, we go through multiple steps in this process. We go through the initial step, which is filling out these dictionaries, which is like a representation of the block structure. For us, that's a buffer in on an entity. That's like the equivalent of our dictionaries of like blocks, our block dictionary. We have a block buffer. So we fill those out, which is like what we do here. We have some additional functions we need to add in here because we've got preview block and reveal block. We also need replace block, which is different. It's like a more permanent change. I don't remember why. I have to remember why we did this the way we did. But then, so what we then go from there, we go through this whole system. And this whole system, or if I can find it, it's actually split by layer. So we get the hull types. So we figure out, we look through all of our block information and we figure out where the hull types are for each layer. So for like the X layer, the Y layer, the Z layer of like a floor or a wall, because we need to figure out where, you know, what those layers are. Is it like an inner hull, a middle hull, an outer hull? That's like the first pass that the auto tiler needs in terms of information. So we need to store that as well. And that information is stored by layer. Not sure if I want to do that in the ECS world or in the GD script world. I should probably do it once in the ECS world and store it, because it doesn't change. Or I could just make it, I could generate it on demand. That might be better. That might be easier. And then the next pass is you actually have to figure out, you have to look at all of those hull layers on the faces and you actually get the atlas chords. Then the auto tiler actually picks which tiles to draw. Then it draws them. That step of figuring out which tiles to draw, that could also be done on the ECS layer and stored. Maybe not. Anything that depends on the viewing direction is something that I should probably do on the rendering side. Anything that's viewing direction dependent. Unless I want to cache all of that, but I don't feel like I need to. I feel like ships will be loaded and unloaded and we might not even see them very much. Certainly not at full resolution. So I don't know. Somewhere in here, we just presume a viewing direction of 0 right now. I'm gonna actually have to think about how to take that into account. All right, I'm thinking about the next step in our process of rewriting these features in our ECS, or using our our ECS. It's an interesting challenge. Appreciate everyone hanging out today. I know it's New Year's Eve, but there's been a decent number of people coming through. Really appreciate that. We may stream tomorrow. I actually haven't decided. I probably should. It would probably be bad form to like start the new year off and not stream, since it's one of my normal streaming days. Today's stream is a little short because I need to go do laundry before a work meeting that I have in about an hour. So I will probably wrap it up soon here. We're kind of at a low ebb in terms of I don't know what I'm going to work on next. We don't have any bugs, which is good right now. It's a good place to leave off. What did we end up doing with the game state? Oh, we ended up making a string dictionary. I forgot. Okay, that's stupid. That's what we did. Excuse me. But yeah, tomorrow we'll come back and we'll keep working on our tool system here that will let us drop blocks around. We basically need, what we're gonna need is a scene, a sync, like a sync system, a system that can synchronize between the ECS world and the node world and like, update the tile maps and stuff when they need to be, provide them new information if they need it. So we'll have to decide how we're going to do that. But yeah, I think that's good for today. And for this year. I should probably have done like a year in review retrospective or whatever, because we've been working on this for the last year, almost entirely on stream. But I don't have anything. I think we started streaming in like maybe February or March of this year. I don't remember exactly when, but it's been wild. And yeah, another year's done. We've only been working on tools. That feels a little bad, and prototyping stuff that we did earlier and then threw away. But yeah, I feel good about the progress we have so far. I feel good about the way the community's grown over the last year and the direction that we're heading in. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much of a retrospective I have in mind, but it's been a year, and I'm looking forward to next year with everyone here. Hope everyone has great success in the next year. But yeah, I think I'm gonna cue the music here. How should we go out? Maybe some chip tunes. Yeah, I'm gonna play myself out, and I'll see y'all next year. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you next time. Bye.